Jack Miller stood at the observation deck of the United Nations Space Command Headquarters, watching the massive alien vessel hover above New York City. The ship belonged to the Valkyrie, the self-proclaimed leadership of what they called the Galactic Confederation. 6 months had passed since first contact, and humanity was still adjusting to the reality that they were not alone in the universe. "Commander Miller, they're ready for you," said a young lieutenant, nervously shifting his weight from one foot to another. Jack nodded and straightened his Navy uniform. At 43, with gray beginning to show at his temples, he was one of Earth's most experienced space engineers. That experience counted for little now, in the face of technology thousands of years beyond human capability. Inside the conference room, Earth's leaders sat on one side of a long table. Across from them, 3 Valkyrie representatives waited. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall with blue-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer under the artificial lights. Their ambassador, Thorthol, flicked his 6-fingered hand dismissively as Jack entered. "As I was saying," Thorthol continued, "the Confederation has decided to extend a generous offering to your species." The main screen lit up with images of what looked like a massive floating junkyard in orbit around Earth's moon. "We have transferred obsolete technology to your lunar orbit," said Thorthol. "Materials and components no longer of use to advanced civilizations. You may find them educational as you work toward becoming a proper spacefaring race." Jack clenched his jaw, recognizing the condescension in the alien's tone. The UN Secretary-General forced a smile. "This is most generous. We thank the Confederation for this gift." After the meeting, Jack cornered General Patton in the hallway. "Sir, they're treating us like children. They've given us their trash." The general sighed. "What would you have us do, Miller? Their smallest scout ship could wipe out an entire city. We need to play nice until we understand what we're dealing with." "Let me examine what they've given us," Jack said. "If it's trash, maybe we can at least learn something from it." 3 days later, Jack received authorization to assemble a team. Dr. Susan Wright was his first recruit, a quantum physicist whose theories about multidimensional energy had been rejected by mainstream science, but caught Jack's attention. Next came Chief Engineer Kevin Reeves, dishonorably discharged from the Navy for modifying military equipment without authorization, but the best mechanical mind Jack had ever known. The team was completed with Communications Officer Lily Vaughn, whose gift for languages had expanded to include the first working translation matrix for the Valkyrie language. "I'm not going to lie to you," Jack told them as they gathered in a makeshift office at NASA headquarters. "We're being set up to fail. The Valkyrie think we're primitives playing with their leftovers." "Wouldn't be the first time I've been underestimated," said Kevin, a crooked smile on his weathered face. Susan tapped her tablet, reviewing the preliminary scans of the orbital junkyard. "There are energy signatures in that scrap that don't match known Valkyrie technology. There's more there than they're telling us." Lily looked up from her own screen. "They're laughing at us. The word they use for this junkyard in their language doesn't just mean obsolete. It means worthless, discarded, beneath notice." Jack nodded slowly. "Then they won't be paying much attention to what we do with it, will they?" 1 month later, a rusty Earth shuttle docked with the newly designated reclamation station, a haphazard structure the team had assembled from space junk and habitat modules to serve as their base in lunar orbit. As they floated through the makeshift airlock, they got their first direct look at the generous offering. The orbital junkyard stretched for miles, a chaotic jumble of twisted metal, broken components, and unidentifiable objects. Thorthol arrived for an inspection, his environmental suit gleaming among the rust and dust of the junkyard. He watched with visible amusement as the humans sorted through piles of debris. "You understand, of course," the Valkyrie said, "that attempting to weaponize any of this material would violate Confederation law." Jack nodded respectfully. "We're just learning, Ambassador. Just trying to understand our place in the galaxy." After the Valkyrie left, Susan floated over to Jack, her eyes wide with excitement. They don't know what they've given us, she whispered. I'm not sure, she replied. But it's not broken, and it's not Valkyrie. And they either didn't know it was here, or didn't think we could recognize its value. Jack looked out at the vast field of scrap, seeing it with new eyes. Then let's see what else they missed. 3 months passed. Reclamation Station grew as the team added more salvage modules. The space around it cleared as they sorted through mountains of alien junk. Jack floated through the main lab where Susan had been working day and night for weeks. Any progress on that purple device? He asked. Susan looked up, dark circles under her eyes. Her excitement overshadowed her exhaustion. It's a power core, Jack, but nothing like the Valkyrie use. The energy readings are off the charts. She pointed to a screen showing waves of energy pulsing inside the small octagonal object. It's from a civilization called the Meridians. I found references to them in some damaged data files. Even the Valkyrie feared them once. They disappeared thousands of years ago. Jack picked up the device, surprised by its likeness. Why would something this valuable be in a junkyard? I don't think the Valkyrie knew what it was, Susan said. The outer casing looks like common metal. You'd need specific scans to detect what's inside. A crash from across the station interrupted them. They rushed to the engineering section, where Kevin stood surrounded by pieces of various alien technologies. Sorry about the noise, he said, but you need to see this. He held up what looked like a twisted piece of metal, then pressed part of it. The metal shifted, revealing a port. Look familiar? Kevin asked. Jack frowned. It looks like the connection port on that navigation system we found last week. Kevin nodded excitedly. Exactly. And it matches the ports on these weapons fragments and that shield generator. Different species, same connection type. Susan's eyes widened. That shouldn't be possible. The Valkyrie told us each civilization developed technology independently. They lied, Kevin said simply. Or they don't know. Either way, I think most of this tech can work together. In another section of the station, Lily called for them over the intercom. When they arrived, they found her surrounded by holographic displays showing alien writing. I've been decoding these fragments, she said. They're weapon schematics from 7 different species, each specialized in different areas. She pointed to each display in turn. The Drazak created advanced energy weapons. The Quarians made impenetrable shields. The Vex mastered stealth technology. The Novan were experts in propulsion. The Galton built targeting systems beyond anything we've imagined. The Meridians focused on power efficiency, and the Zith created autonomous battle systems. Jack looked at the displays, his mind racing. If these technologies all share a common connection point, we could combine them, Kevin finished. A week later, the Valkyrie ambassador, Fall arrived for another inspection. Jack led him through sections of the station, where humans sorted through the least valuable materials. Your persistence is admirable if misguided, Thorfall said, watching a technician struggle with a damaged hull fragment. It would take your species centuries to understand even the simplest of these technologies. Jack nodded humbly. We're just learning, Ambassador. Every day brings new discoveries. Thorfall paused by a pile of twisted metal. And what have you learned so far? That we have much to learn, Jack replied carefully. After the Valkyrie left, Jack called his core team to a sealed room deep within the station. This section didn't appear on any official maps. We need to move faster, he told them. The Valkyrie are getting suspicious. Susan uploaded new scans to the main display. The power core is stable. It produces 10 times the energy of our largest nuclear reactor. Kevin added, I figured out how to connect the Drazak weapon systems to the Quarian shields. The interface is tricky but possible. Lily brought up her latest translations. I found something interesting. Human music, specifically our mathematical patterns of rhythm, can serve as a translation matrix between conflicting alien command systems. Jack looked at the scattered pieces of alien technology around them. The Valkyrie gave us scraps thinking we'd build toys. Instead, we're going to build something they never imagined. He pulled up a rough design on the main screen. It showed the outline of a ship, unlike anything humanity had created before. Project Phoenix, he said, a warship combining technologies from across the galaxy. Technologies that were never meant to work together. Susan studied the design. This would change everything. The Valkyrie would never allow it. Then we don't let them know, Jack said. Not until it's too late to stop us. Outside the window, Earth glowed blue against the blackness of space. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Jack felt hope for humanity's future. They had been given scraps, but they would build something magnificent. Jack sealed the door to the hidden section of Reclamation Station. This room didn't exist on any official maps. The walls were lined with screens showing designs for Project Phoenix. His team gathered around a table where a holographic model of their planned warship slowly rotated. "We need to solve the power distribution problem," Jack said, pointing to the engine section of the hologram. "The Meridian core produces more energy than any connectors can handle." Susan nodded, her fingers dancing across a tablet. "I've been working on that. Look at this." She sent her designs to the main display. Complex equations and diagrams appeared. "If we use the Meridian power core as our main energy source, we can connect it to the Drazak weapons and Quarian shields through a series of buffers. The theory works on paper." Kevin scratched his beard. "Theory is nice, but we need something physical." He pulled out a small metal object from his pocket and placed it on the table. "I made this from Earth metals. It creates a bridge between incompatible alien materials. Copper and titanium with a special alloy in between. Not pretty, but it works." Lily had been quiet, listening. Now she spoke up. "I've been thinking about the command systems. Each alien species designed their technology to respond to their own language and thought patterns. We need a universal control system." She connected her tablet to the main display. A sound wave pattern appeared. "This is Bach's cello suite No. 1, she said. "And this," she added, bringing up another pattern, "is the command protocol for the Drazak weapons system." She overlaid the patterns. They matched at key points. Human music follows mathematical patterns that align with alien command protocols. We can use music as a translation matrix. The team stared at her discovery. "You're saying we can control alien technology with music?" Jack asked. "Not exactly. I'm saying we can use the mathematical patterns in our music to create a control system all the technologies will understand. It's a uniquely human solution." Jack smiled for the first time in days. "Let's test it." They spent the next week building a small prototype. It combined a fragment of the Meridian power core with a miniature Drazak energy projector and a piece of Quarian shield technology. Kevin's metal bridges connected the components. Lily programmed the control system using her musical translation matrix. On test day, they gathered in a sealed chamber. The prototype sat on a platform, connected to sensors. Through a thick window, they could see a block of solid titanium, their target. "Power at 10%, Susan reported. The prototype hummed. Lights flickered across its surface. 15%, 20. At 25% power, the prototype vibrated. A beam of blue energy shot from the Drazak component. When it hit the titanium block, everyone gasped. The block didn't just melt, it vanished completely. "What happened?" Jack asked, his voice barely a whisper. Susan checked the readings. The energy beam didn't just destroy the target. It broke it down at the molecular level. They looked at each other in silence. They had created something more powerful than they'd imagined. Later that night, Jack sat alone in his quarters. A message from Earth Command flashed on his screen. "Project update requested. Progress report due tomorrow." Jack hadn't told Earth's leaders everything. How could he explain that they were building something that might change the balance of power in the galaxy? Something that might anger the Valkyrie if they discovered it. He began typing his report, carefully editing the truth. He mentioned promising developments and integration challenges, but left out the successful test and the true power of what they were creating. As he worked, a second alert appeared on his screen. A Valkyrie patrol ship was scheduled to conduct a routine inspection of Reclamation Station in 3 days. Jack sent an urgent message to his team. Accelerate the timeline. Move all Phoenix materials to the hidden section. The Valkyrie are coming. For the next 3 days, they worked around the clock. They hid their discoveries and prepared a convincing show of humble humans struggling with alien technology. But in the hidden room, Project Phoenix continued to take shape. The design had evolved beyond a simple warship. It was becoming something never seen before in the galaxy, a hybrid vessel combining the best technologies of 7 different alien civilizations, controlled by a human-designed system that none of them had imagined possible. Jack looked at their creation taking shape and wondered if they were being reckless. Then he remembered the condescension in Sorthol's eyes, and his resolve hardened. Humanity needed this ship if they were to have any hope of being treated as equals in the galaxy. The shadow of Jupiter provided the perfect hiding spot. Earth officials had approved Jack's request to move selected research materials to an old mining station orbiting the gas giant. They didn't ask too many questions. Most still didn't believe anything useful would come from the alien scrap. Jack watched through the viewport as automated drones carried pieces of their project from transport ships to the mining station. They had been working here for 2 months now, away from the Valkyrie's watchful eyes. The hull section is almost complete, Kevin said, joining Jack at the window. We're using metals from 17 different worlds, stronger than anything we could make with just Earth materials. The station shook slightly as a large component was moved into position. We need more help, Jack admitted. The project is too big for just the 4 of us now. Kevin nodded. I have some names. People we can trust. Within a week, 3 new team members arrived. Diane Foster was a former military pilot whose brain scans showed unusual patterns that matched perfectly with alien neural interfaces. Ryan Daniels was a cybersecurity expert who had developed protection against theoretical alien hacking attempts years before first contact. George Martinez was a structural engineer who specialized in building things that shouldn't be possible. They gathered in the main assembly area where the skeleton of Project Phoenix was taking shape. It was larger than Jack had originally planned, nearly the size of an aircraft carrier. The Meridian core is installed, Susan reported. We've added buffer systems to handle the energy output, but we've only tested it at 30% capacity. Jack looked at the newly expanded team. It's time for weapons testing. If this works, we'll know Phoenix is viable. They prepared a test zone in a remote area of the Jupiter system. A cluster of small asteroids would serve as targets. The weapons system, a combination of Drazek energy projectors and Novan targeting technology, was mounted on a small test platform. Energy at 20%, Susan called out. Jack nodded to Diane, who sat at the control interface, her hands touching what looked like a musical keyboard. Target the smallest asteroid, Jack ordered. Diane's fingers moved across the keys, playing a sequence that sent commands to the weapons system. A beam of blue-white energy lanced out toward the targeted asteroid. The asteroid didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. Silence fell over the control room. Did it work? George asked, confused by what he'd just seen. Ryan checked the sensors. The asteroid didn't break apart. It disintegrated at the molecular level. There's nothing left but dust. Jack stared at the weapons readout. And that was at 20% power. They looked at each other, suddenly aware of what they were creating. This wasn't just a ship that could defend Earth. This was a weapon that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. A warning alarm broke the silence. Ryan rushed to the sensor station. Valkyrie patrol ship detected near Jupiter's moon Callisto, he reported. They're scanning the area. Unusual energy signatures detected. Jack made a quick decision. Shut everything down. Hide the test platform. No communications until they're gone. For 3 tense hours, They waited as the Valkyrie ship moved through the Jupiter system. Finally, it left, returning to its regular patrol route. "That was too close," Jack said. "They're getting suspicious. We need to accelerate our timeline." "The ship isn't ready," Susan protested. "We haven't tested the shields, the propulsion system is only partly installed, and the command center isn't finished." "We don't have a choice," Jack replied. "If the Valkyrie discover what we're building, they'll shut us down and probably punish Earth for it." He sent an encrypted message to Earth Command, requesting a private channel with the highest levels of government. It was time to tell Earth's leaders what they had really created from the alien scrap. The response came back in hours. "Request granted. Security protocols in place. Earth leadership concerned about Valkyrie activity near Jupiter. Additional resources authorized under classified project code Phoenix Rising. Maintain plausible deniability." Jack showed the message to his team. "We have official backing now, even if they can't admit it publicly. We finish Phoenix in 6 weeks." From the assembly bay window, the partially completed ship looked both magnificent and strange. Its hull gleamed with metals of different colors. Internal lights pulsed with alien energy. It was like nothing humanity had built before, a combination of technologies from across the galaxy that should never have worked together. But it did work, and soon the galaxy would know what humans could build from scraps. Jack stood before Earth's Security Council in a room deep beneath the United Nations building. The faces of world leaders looked back at him from screens around the room. Security concerns prevented them from meeting in person. "Project Phoenix is 90% complete," Jack said. "The weapons systems are operational. Propulsion and shields are being finalized. We estimate 2 more weeks until completion." The UN Secretary-General leaned forward. "And you built this from the scrap the Valkyrie gave us?" "Yes, sir. They didn't realize what they were giving away, or they didn't think we could figure out how to use it." A military general spoke next. "You're certain this vessel can stand against Valkyrie ships?" "Based on our tests, it's more powerful than anything we've seen from them," Jack replied. The meeting was interrupted when a staff member rushed in and handed a note to the Secretary General. His face paled as he read it. "We have a situation," he announced. "An Arcturian fleet has just appeared at the edge of our solar system." Confused murmurs filled the room. Jack had never heard of the Arcturians. The Secretary General continued. "The Valkyrie ambassador has just informed us that the Arcturians are their ancient enemies. They claim the Arcturians have detected Valkyrie technology being used on Earth and consider us allies of their enemy." Jack's blood ran cold. "The scrapyard. They gave us materials from the Arcturians, knowing we would handle it." "The Arcturians are demanding Earth's surrender and the handover of all Valkyrie technology," the Secretary General said. "They've given us 12 hours to comply." "What kind of threat do they pose?" Jack asked. Military officials brought up sensor readings. The Arcturian fleet consisted of 20 massive ships, each easily dwarfing Earth's largest vessels. "Our conventional defenses would be useless against even one of their ships," a general stated grimly. Jack took a deep breath. "There is another option. Project Phoenix." Silence fell over the room. Then the debate began. Some argued it was too risky to reveal their secret project. Others said they had no choice. "The ship isn't fully tested," Jack admitted, "but it's our only hope against a fleet that size." After hours of discussion, they reached a decision. Earth would reveal Project Phoenix to both the Valkyrie and the Arcturians. The Valkyrie ambassador, Thorfall, and an Arcturian representative named Vorlak were brought to a secure communication room. Jack stood with Earth's leaders as images of Project Phoenix were displayed on the main screen. Thorfall's reaction shifted from confusion to disbelief, then to dismissive amusement. "This is what you've built from the scrap. A patchwork vessel that combines incompatible technologies." Vorlak, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, laughed. "You expect this abomination to stand against an Arcturian battle fleet. It will fall apart at the first energy surge." Jack kept his face neutral despite their mockery. "We'd like to demonstrate its capabilities before you make judgments." The Earth leaders looked at him in surprise. This wasn't part of the plan. "What demonstration?" The Secretary General whispered. "We launch now," Jack replied quietly. "Today." The decision was made quickly. With the Arcturian deadline approaching, they had little choice. Jack returned to Jupiter, where the final preparations for Phoenix were underway. The ship now had a proper name: U.S. Defiance. "We're not ready," Susan protested when Jack told them the plan. "The shield harmonics aren't fully calibrated. The propulsion system is only at 70%. The Arcturians have given Earth 12 hours before they attack," Jack said. "We launch now, or we don't launch at all." The crew boarded the Defiance. Besides Jack, Susan, Kevin, Lily, Diane, Ryan, and George, they had added 20 more crew members, the minimum needed to operate the massive ship. As they prepared for launch, Kevin approached Jack on the bridge. "I've been working on something special," he said, showing Jack a small device. "It's a hybrid of Valkyrie stealth technology and Quarian phase shifting. Theoretical invisibility." "Theoretical?" Jack asked. Kevin grinned. "We haven't had time to test it. But the math works." Jack looked around at his crew, all watching him for leadership. They had built something unprecedented from scraps that the galaxy's powers had discarded. Now they would see if it was enough to save Earth. "Power up all systems," Jack ordered. "We're taking the fight to them." The Defiance pulled away from the Jupiter station, its engines glowing with alien energy as it headed toward the waiting Arcturian fleet. The U.S. Defiance moved silently through space toward the waiting Arcturian fleet. On the bridge, Jack watched as the enemy ships grew larger on the main screen. They were enormous, sleek vessels with pointed ends that made them look like giant spears hanging in the darkness. "Activate Kevin's stealth system," Jack ordered. Ryan nodded, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "Stealth system engage. If it works, we're invisible to their sensors." The bridge crew held their breath. No one spoke as the Defiance approached the heart of the Arcturian fleet. "They're not reacting," Lily reported, monitoring alien communications. "I think it's working." Jack moved to Diane's station. "Position us right in the middle of their formation." Diane guided the ship with gentle touches on the neural interface. The Defiance slipped between two massive Arcturian vessels, close enough that the crew could see details of the alien hull through the viewports. "We're in position," Diane said. Jack took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Disengage stealth. Power up weapons. The Defiance suddenly appeared in the heart of the Arcturian fleet. For a few seconds, nothing happened as the aliens tried to understand what they were seeing. "They're powering up weapons," Lily reported, tension in her voice. "Fire first," Jack ordered. "Target their lead ship." Susan activated the Drazak weapons system. A beam of blue-white energy shot from the Defiance toward the largest Arcturian vessel. When it hit, the alien ship's shields flared brightly, then collapsed. A second beam cut through the now unprotected hull, slicing it in two. The bridge crew stared in shock. They had just destroyed an advanced alien warship with 2 shots. "All Arcturian vessels are targeting us," Ryan reported as alarms blared. "Shields up," Jack ordered. The Arcturians fired. Energy beams and projectiles streaked toward the Defiance from all directions. They hit the Quarian shield system Kevin had installed, creating a beautiful display of colors as the energy was absorbed or deflected. "Shield status," Jack asked when the barrage ended. 96%, George reported from the engineering station. "The shields are holding." Jack smiled. "Return fire." Multiple targets. The Defiance's weapons lashed out again, destroying 2 more Arcturian ships and disabling a third. On the communications screen, an Arcturian face appeared. The alien commander looked both furious and confused. "What is this ship?" the commander demanded. "No human vessel could withstand our weapons or penetrate our shields." "This isn't just a human vessel," Jack replied. This is what happens when you underestimate us. We built it from the scrap your kind, and the Valkyrie discarded. The Arcturians' eyes widened. Impossible. Target their next largest ship, Jack ordered. The weapons fired again. Another Arcturian vessel broke apart. The remaining ships are pulling back, Diane reported. They're regrouping at the edge of the system. The Arcturian commander spoke again. We offer immediate withdrawal and recognition of Earth's sovereignty. This conflict can end now. Jack shook his head. Not good enough. We want answers. Why did you attack us? What is this conflict with the Valkyrie really about? Why did they give us your technology as scrap? The Arcturian commander was silent for a moment. Then he laughed, a strange, hollow sound. You truly don't know, do you? Both our empires have used the same strategy for thousands of years. We find primitive species and provide them with gifts of outdated technology. Most destroy themselves fighting over it, or become dependent vassals. The survivors are added to our empires as client races. The bridge crew exchanged shocked glances as the truth became clear. You were both playing us, Jack said. We've never encountered a species that could integrate disparate technologies this effectively, the Arcturian admitted. It should be impossible. The physical and computational frameworks are too different. Not for us, Susan said proudly. Jack leaned forward. Here's what happens now. Your fleet leaves our solar system. You and the Valkyrie both recognize Earth as a sovereign, independent power, and you both explain to your leaders that attacking Earth would be a very costly mistake. The Arcturian commander studied Jack for a long moment. Agreed. But know this, human, you have just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Neither the Valkyrie nor the Arcturian empires will forget what happened here today. Good, Jack replied. That's exactly what we wanted. As the Arcturian fleet retreated, the crew of the Defiance celebrated their victory. They had taken scraps and built a ship that had just defeated the most powerful fleet they had ever seen. Earth was safe, at least for now. But Jack knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had just become a much more complicated place. News of the Defiance's victory spread quickly through the galaxy. 3 months after the battle with the Arcturians, Earth had become the center of unprecedented alien activity. Ships from a dozen different civilizations arrived in the solar system. Some came offering alliances. Others brought threats, demanding the humans share their technology. Jack stood in the newly built Space Defense Headquarters, watching alien vessels orbit Earth from the large observation window. The Valkyrie are requesting another meeting, Susan said, joining him at the window. Their third this month. Jack nodded. They're worried. They should be. After the battle, Earth scientists had studied the Defiance carefully, learning how its systems worked together. They began building more ships using the same principles. 5 were already under construction. Ambassador Thol has changed his tone, Susan noted. No more condescension. Amazing how quickly attitudes change when you have the most powerful ship in the galaxy, Jack replied. The door opened, and Lily rushed in, excitement on her face. We just intercepted a Valkyrie transmission. They're planning to sabotage our shipyards. Jack wasn't surprised. Did Ryan's security systems catch the attempt? Before it even started, Lily confirmed. The Valkyrie tried to upload a virus to our computer network. Ryan's countermeasures reflected it back to their systems. Their own ships are now locked down. Jack smiled. Poetic justice. Later that day, Jack presented his new proposal to Earth's United Defense Council. Leaders from every nation listened as he outlined his plan. The Defiance proved what humans can accomplish by combining technologies in ways the older civilizations never imagined, Jack explained. But we shouldn't keep this knowledge to ourselves. Murmurs spread through the room. Many had expected Jack to argue for Earth to build its own empire. Instead, Jack continued, I propose the Phoenix Protocol. We offer to share our integration techniques with any civilization willing to enter a mutual defense pact with Earth. We help the smaller, less advanced species protect themselves from the large empires. The debate lasted hours. Some argued that Earth should use its advantage to establish dominance. Others worried about sharing technology that could someday be used against them. In the end, Jack's proposal passed by a narrow margin. Within weeks, representatives from 7 formerly marginalized civilizations arrived on Earth to join the Phoenix Protocol. Jack and his team began teaching them how to integrate disparate technologies. A month later, the galaxy's balance of power shifted dramatically. Ships based on the Defiance's design appeared in systems that had once been firmly under Valkyrie or Arcturian control. Smaller species that had been treated as pawns now had the means to defend themselves. The Valkyrie and Arcturians, facing rebellion from their vassals, reluctantly agreed to Earth's proposal for a new galactic council where all species would have equal representation. On the day of the first council meeting, Jack stood on the bridge of the Defiance as it orbited the neutral planet chosen for the gathering. His original crew was with him, along with new members from other worlds. "It's hard to believe it all started with a scrapyard," Kevin said, running his hand along a control panel. "They thought they were humiliating us," Susan added. "Instead, they gave us the keys to the galaxy." Jack nodded. "We saw possibilities where they saw only trash. That's always been humanity's strength." Lily looked up from her station. "The council is ready to begin. They're waiting for Earth's representative." Jack straightened his new uniform. As Earth's chosen representative to the Galactic Council, he would help shape the future of interstellar relations. Before leaving the bridge, he took a final look at his crew and the ship they had built together. From the humiliation of being given scraps, they had created something that changed the course of galactic history. "Keep her ready," Jack told Diane. "The galaxy is still a dangerous place." "Always," she replied with a smile. As Jack headed to the shuttle bay, he thought about how far they had come. The powerful civilizations of the galaxy had underestimated humans, seeing them as primitive beings who should be grateful for leftovers. Now those same civilizations sat at a table as equals, forced to acknowledge that sometimes the greatest innovations come from those with the least to start with. The U.S. Defiance continued to patrol the stars, no longer just Earth's protector, but a symbol to all species that no one should be underestimated. The ship built from scraps had become the most respected and feared vessel in the galaxy.